Why you should not learn English. Leo once firmly believed in the unspoken truth. Why you should not learn English. He saw it as a tedious chore, an academic burden that promised only frustration and endless memorization. His village life was simple, beautiful, and completely devoid of any perceived need for a foreign tongue. He often echoed the sentiment, embracing his linguistic comfort zone without question or curiosity about the world beyond. The thought of textbooks, grammar rules, and vocabulary lists sent shivers down his spine. It felt like a punishment, a forced endeavor disconnected from genuine human communication. He heard whispers in the community, reinforcing his quiet conviction that language learning was a path best avoided. This deep-seated resistance kept him comfortable, yet unknowingly limited his horizons significantly. His friends, however, began talking about exciting new opportunities, distant lands, and global connections. Their conversations increasingly wove in terms he didn't quite grasp. A subtle sense of being left behind started to prick at him, a tiny crack appearing in his previously unyielding belief system. The world, it seemed, was moving on without him. Despite his strong convictions, a quiet, almost imperceptible curiosity began to stir within Leo. It wasn't about formal study, but a vague desire to understand those fleeting foreign phrases. He wondered what doors might open if he could bridge that linguistic gap, even slightly. This nascent interest would soon lead him down an unexpected, transformative path. One quiet afternoon, while tinkering with an old, forgotten radio, Leo accidentally stumbled upon a peculiar frequency. Amidst the familiar crackle and hum of static, a clear, vibrant voice emerged. It spoke in English, a melodic sound he had rarely heard before. He was captivated, not by meaning, but by the sheer auditory beauty of it. He found himself drawn to this unfamiliar sound. He didn't understand the words, yet he felt a strange connection to the rhythm and intonation. This was his first unconscious step into the world of Listen English. He wasn't trying to learn. He was simply letting the sounds wash over him, a soothing, almost meditative experience. Day after day, he tuned into that same station, or sought out similar programs. He discovered podcasts and foreign films, always choosing to listen without subtitles. This was his version of listen and practice, a completely immersive approach that bypassed traditional study methods. He just absorbed, like a sponge in a vast linguistic ocean. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, fragments of phrases began to resonate, not through rote memorization, but through sheer, repeated exposure. It felt like catchy melodies sticking in his mind, rather than academic concepts. A small, thrilling spark ignited within him, a revelation that language acquisition didn't have to be a struggle. He started noticing how people speak English in these audio snippets. The natural pauses, the subtle shifts in tone, the way native speakers conveyed emotion through intonation. It was profoundly different from the stiff, formal dialogues he remembered from school textbooks, offering a glimpse into authentic communication patterns. He observed the casual flow, the contractions, the idiomatic expressions. It was like decoding a complex secret language of nuance, far beyond mere vocabulary. This observation of how other people talk in English in everyday conversations became a fascinating puzzle, compelling him to listen even more intently. This passive absorption, devoid of pressure, felt radically liberating. It was an experiential journey, not a forced academic endeavor. He wasn't consciously learning. He was simply experiencing the language, allowing it to seep into his subconscious mind, a gentle, organic process that felt surprisingly natural and enjoyable. Then came the perplexing challenge of how to remember words. Rote memorization had always failed him, leading to endless frustration and a quick loss of motivation. He needed a different approach, something that resonated with his newfound, intuitive learning style, a method that stuck. He began to associate new words with vivid, often silly, mental images or personal anecdotes. He created miniature stories around them, weaving them into narratives that made them memorable. This technique, unexpected as it was, proved incredibly effective for long-term retention and recall. Context became his ultimate teacher. He'd hear a new word in multiple different settings, a song, a news report, a podcast. Gradually, like fitting pieces of a puzzle, he'd piece together its meaning and usage. This organic discovery felt far more powerful than looking up definitions in a dictionary. He stumbled upon an inspiring podcast segment titled, "Let Me Tell You Talking Tips." The speaker emphasized fearlessness, encouraging listeners to embrace mistakes as essential steps in the language journey. This resonated deeply with Leo, challenging his ingrained fear of imperfection and liberating him. The most impactful tip was simple: aim for communication, not perfection. This single piece of advice freed him from self-consciousness. Mistakes, he realized, were merely signposts, indicating where he needed to improve, rather than symbols of failure. This shift in mindset was truly transformative for his progress. He started practicing simple sentences aloud, to himself, in the privacy of his room. He recorded his voice, listening back for areas to refine. This English talking practice built muscle memory, training his tongue and mind to form sounds and sentences naturally, without rigid translation in his head. Connecting with others, initially online, for brief, informal chats became part of his routine. These weren't formal lessons, but casual exchanges, experiments in real-world application. English talking practice transformed from a daunting task into an exciting exploration, a bridge to new friendships and insights. He understood that listening provided crucial input, but speaking was the indispensable output, essential for solidifying understanding. Every small conversation, every hesitant phrase, was a mini triumph, a tangible step forward on his path to fluency and confident expression, slowly but surely. The journey wasn't about grand leaps, but consistent, incremental progress. Each interaction, no matter how brief or imperfect, built another layer of confidence and competence. He was no longer just learning words. He was learning to truly communicate, to express his thoughts and feelings. Then came the profound realization of why reading is important. Initially, he found it challenging, but as his listening skills improved, reading became a natural extension. He started with simple articles, then short stories, eventually venturing into more complex narratives and novels. Reading exposed him to a vast, diverse vocabulary and complex sentence structures that listening alone couldn't provide. It enriched his linguistic palette, offering a deeper understanding of nuances and expressions. It was like unlocking a hidden chamber of linguistic treasures, expanding his world exponentially. It solidified grammar patterns he'd only passively absorbed through auditory input. Seeing the words written down provided visual reinforcement, cementing his understanding of how sentences were constructed and how ideas connected seamlessly on the page. Reading made the abstract concrete. He discovered that reading broadened his understanding of how other people talk in English, revealing different narrative styles and voices. He observed how authors crafted dialogue, how conversations unfolded in written form, further deepening his grasp of natural speech patterns and rhythm. Different authors had unique voices, unique ways of expressing ideas, which he found fascinating and incredibly insightful. This exposure to diverse writing styles refined his own sense of language, inspiring him to experiment with his own spoken expression and vocabulary choices. This powerful combination of active listening, courageous speaking, and consistent reading began to forge a robust, holistic approach to language acquisition. It wasn't a piecemeal effort, but an integrated system, each component reinforcing and strengthening the others, creating true synergy. He wasn't learning English in the traditional, painful sense that he had always dreaded. He was, in essence, living English, immersing himself in its rich tapestry of sounds, words, and expressions. The language wasn't a subject. It was a vibrant, living companion on his journey. The initial thought, why you should not learn English, now seemed utterly absurd, a relic of his past misunderstandings and limiting misconceptions. He had completely redefined what learning truly meant, transforming it from a chore into an enjoyable, organic exploration of the world. He realized the secret wasn't about avoiding learning, but about reimagining it, making it an intuitive, deeply personal process. It was about finding joy in discovery, embracing mistakes, and allowing the language to unfold naturally, rather than forcing it into rigid academic frameworks. Every day brought new discoveries, new challenges to overcome, and new triumphs to celebrate. His journey was no longer about reaching an endpoint, but about continuously growing and evolving with the language, embracing the endless possibilities it offered him. He continued to refine his English talking practice, actively seeking out new opportunities to engage with native speakers and fellow learners. From online language exchange forums to local community meetups, he embraced every chance to put his skills into action, testing and improving. He wholeheartedly embraced stumbling and making errors, viewing each one as an indispensable part of the learning journey. He understood that every correction was a stepping stone, not a sign of failure, propelling him closer to fluency and natural expression. He paid keen attention to how people speak English in real-time conversations, subtly mirroring their rhythm, intonation, and common expressions. This conscious mimicry helped him internalize the natural flow of the language, making his own speech more authentic and fluid. He found himself spontaneously using new vocabulary, seamlessly integrating words he'd previously struggled to remember into his daily conversations. The mental anchors and contextual learning techniques he developed made recall effortless, almost instinctive. His confidence soared with each successful interaction. He no longer feared making mistakes. Instead, he welcomed them as irrefutable proof of his progress and unwavering willingness to learn and grow. This liberation from fear was truly empowering for him. The tips on how to remember words that he had adopted became second nature, his brain instinctively creating connections and visual aids for every new term. Learning new vocabulary was no longer a struggle, but an exciting intellectual exercise. He understood that consistent listen and practice was the absolute bedrock of his progress, continuously feeding his brain with authentic, natural language input. It was the constant fuel that powered his entire language acquisition engine, keeping it running smoothly and efficiently. Reading, he discovered, was not just a supplement but a secret weapon, unlocking a deeper appreciation for the language's nuances, literary beauty, and cultural contexts. It broadened his worldview and refined his understanding of expression in written form. His personal approach to how to learn English was no longer a rigid, structured curriculum, but an evolving, deeply personal adventure. It was a fluid process, adapting to his needs and interests, making learning perpetually engaging and relevant to his life. Every day brought fresh discoveries, new challenges, and inspiring triumphs. This ongoing cycle of learning and application solidified his command of the language, transforming him into a confident, articulate, and passionate English speaker, truly in his element. Leo, once a staunch skeptic of formal language learning, now confidently engaged with international visitors to his village. His voice was clear, his thoughts flowed effortlessly, bridging cultural divides with ease and grace, surprising even himself with his newfound fluency. He found immense joy in how other people talk in English, appreciating the rich tapestry of diverse accents, unique expressions, and cultural nuances from around the world. It was a constant source of fascination and a testament to the language's global reach. He frequently shared his personal journey, emphasizing that traditional, rigid learning wasn't the ultimate key. Instead, he advocated for passionate, consistent engagement, immersive experiences, and a willingness to simply play with the language without fear or judgment. His story became an unexpected source of inspiration for many in his community, showing that overcoming initial resistance to the idea of why you should not learn English was, in fact, the very first crucial step towards true linguistic liberation and growth. He generously shared his unique methods for how to remember words, focusing on context, personal connection, and creative association rather than dull, ineffective lists. His techniques made vocabulary acquisition exciting and inherently memorable for others. His impromptu, let me tell you talking tips sessions were incredibly popular, especially among beginners. He encouraged everyone to start speaking from day one, without fear or hesitation, emphasizing that imperfect speech was far better than perfect silence, fostering courage. He passionately stressed that why reading is important extended far beyond simply building vocabulary. Reading, he argued, fostered critical thinking, deepened cultural understanding, and opened new worlds of knowledge, making it an invaluable tool for lifelong learning and growth. He organized local English talking practice groups, creating a safe, supportive space for others to experiment, make mistakes, and grow together. These sessions became vibrant hubs of linguistic exploration and community building, fostering shared progress among all participants. Leo's transformation was complete. He wasn't just fluent in English, he had become a true language enthusiast, a natural communicator, and an inspiring mentor. He found profound satisfaction in connecting with people from all corners of the globe, transcending barriers. He had truly grasped that the best how to learn English method was not found in textbooks or classrooms, but in an approach that felt natural, enjoyable, and deeply personal. It was a continuous journey of discovery, fueled by curiosity and authentic engagement. The initial paradox had been fully resolved. Why you should not learn English truly meant not learning it in the old, rigid, painful, traditional way. It was a plea to abandon ineffective, rote memorization and instead embrace a more organic process. Instead, one should experience, absorb, and practice it organically, joyfully, like a child discovering the world anew. It's about immersion, play, and connecting with the language on a deeper, more intuitive level, allowing it to become a natural extension of oneself. And so, Leo, the once reluctant learner, became Leo, the passionate English speaker, forever grateful for his unconventional path to fluency and the boundless opportunities it had unlocked. His journey stood as a testament to the power of redefined learning,